It's a fantastic, beautiful day, Saturday, Tryon, North Carolina, and tomorrow is Mother's Day. So, guys, if you're watching this video and you haven't taken care of getting something for Mother, be sure you do that, and I know they'll appreciate it. Went back and looked at all my Mother's Day messages and realized there's got to be about 35 Mother's Day messages over my preaching career, and kind of combined a couple of them for today. Proverbs 14:1, the wise woman builds her house. Now, that doesn't mean she goes out and gets a hammer and nails and literally puts together the house. Although I got to admit that my wife in the 70s helped me build this house that I'm sitting in right now. And she did swing a hammer with nails, and she did sweep and did help us raise the wall sections. Proverbs 31:10 says, an excellent wife who can find? Her worth is far above jewels. And that's absolutely true. A good wife is hard to come by. We sat with a young single man from our church up here the other day, and he said it's really hard to find a good woman, and that's true. Well, what is a wise woman who builds her house? An excellent wife, what is she like? Well, there are 3 R's that I want you to know are in every really good wife. The first one is relationships. The second one is responsibilities. And the third one is righteousness. Now, not necessarily in that order, obviously, but let's talk about those. First, relationships. She needs to have a great relationship with God, and certainly that's why the righteousness can go there as well. She needs to have a good relationship with her mate, and she needs to have a good relationship with the family. Now, the family is more than just the children. There's in-laws and there's outlaws. There is his family and her family, as well as their family. And she needs to have a good relationship with all of them. And that's not always easy, because sometimes families are not easy to love. So she needs to have relationships. Secondly, she needs to have responsibilities. What are her responsibilities as a wife, as a mother? Well, she needs to be sure that she's an example. She needs to be sure that she's an educator. And that doesn't mean just helping with homework. That means spiritual education. And she needs to be an encourager. Listen, there's nothing better than a godly wife who encourages her children and encourages her husband in all that they attempt to do. So she needs to, first of all, have relationships. She needs, secondly, to have responsibilities. And thirdly, she needs to be righteous. We know that she is to be somebody that's praying without ceasing, 1 Thessalonians 5:17. She needs to be a person who's not afraid to speak the truth in love. You know, sometimes part of that educational process, both for the children and for the husband, is being able to speak the truth in love, Ephesians 4:15. And she needs to be a person of purity. In Hebrews 13:4 it says, let the bed be undefiled, and a woman needs to be a woman of purity. So listen to what it says in 1 Peter 3, verses 3 through 5. Let your adornment not be merely external, the braiding of hair, the wearing of gold jewelry, the putting on of dresses, but let it be the hidden person of the heart, with the imperishable quality of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is precious in the sight of God. For in this way, former times, holy women also, who hoped in God, used to adorn themselves, being submissive to their own husbands. Kirk Cameron caught a lot of heat for that recently on TV. They said he's a chauvinist, saying that women are to be in submission to their husbands. They failed to acknowledge that Kirk Cameron had also said that husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church and was willing to die for her. You see, they like to make headlines. And a good husband is going to love his wife so much that he's willing to die for her. It's not hard to submit to that kind of a husband. The kind of husband that's willing to die for his wife is not going to treat her as a doormat. He's going to treat her as precious jewels. He's going to understand the value of a good woman. And he's going to really acknowledge that in the way he treats her and conducts his life with her. Yeah, it's really important for us to remember these words. that a wise woman builds her house. She does that through relationships, responsibilities, and righteousness. And that wise woman, when she builds her house, is going to continue to be the kind of woman that Proverbs 31 speaks about. Because remember, Proverbs 31 says, and her children will rise up and call her blessed. I hope that that's what your children are doing. I hope that your husband is acknowledging the great value that you have as a wife, as a mother, and as a woman. Remember, just a couple of days ago, we talked about Paul, who was not a chauvinist at all, who acknowledged the great value of the women in the ministry. And I acknowledge that my wife has a great value in the church and in our home and as a mate. And I love her so dearly. And I know that if you have the kind of wife that I have, you love yours dearly too. That's your thought for the day. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.